finally here, yep. It's coming in strong. Yep, let me just get my jacket on. Woo! It is really blowing here. I think it's just the beginning of this very powerful storm, Category 5, coming to this section of Cuba. Just now we're kind of feeling the wind pick up again. Where we are, the power was knocked out some 3 or 4 hours ago. I don't think we'll get it back. All day long we were watching the weather get worse and worse and worse, and this afternoon a couple really strong bands came through out of nowhere and really almost knocked us off our feet. The Cuban coastline has now come to us. The house and the town where we've been reporting from is now underwater, probably a good 3 to 4 feet of water. Irma is heading towards Florida, but she is not done with Cuba just yet. We continue to feel strong gusts, see roofs being torn off. There are trees that have been down. The area that I am in, this was not underwater yesterday. It very much so is today. Many of the people live here in small one-story houses, which are now just underwater. No! The storm is leaving, but it's not gone.
Well, there's so many different... Ooh, all right, here it comes. Whoa! Irma. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the concern here is that everything is so vulnerable, especially to salt water, right? This is, we're in the northern part of the end of the Everglades, that fresh saltwater mix, which makes it such a rich place for biodiversity and so forth. But that salt water gets up into car engines, it gets into the wiring. 5 to 10 foot storm surge would mean that most of the Florida Keys would be overtopped. Back in Wilma, about 75% of Key West was inundated, and it happened in 2 different separate waves, one in the morning, one later at midnight. People thought that it had passed, it came back. So water is just a fact of life. When you live in this part of the world, you come down here for the water. You come down here because you want to boat or dive or search for, sunken treasure. But a 10-foot storm surge, just by perspective, that's a one-story home, right? And we drove around yesterday thinking, hey, I wonder if there's any 2-story parking garages where we can really secure our vehicle in case things get hairy. They don't exist on Key Largo. There is a dive shop, which is our sort of point of last refuge if the water gets too high. Close to us here, it's 3 stories, stone building, but that's a rarity. That's a skyscraper in the Florida Keys. So we're keeping an eye not just on these gusts as they start to crank, but also on creeping salt water. Chris?
All right, brother, do me a favor. Get to safety. The reporting's important. Your safety is essential. So we'll check back with you in a little bit. Let us know what we need to know in the interim, all right? Bill Weir down there in Key Largo with his team showing you the reality, the romanticism of being a conch and the rugged individualism of being in the Keys is giving way to a very wet, windy, and dangerous reality right now.
You can see the winds, how powerful they are right now, David. It's going east to west. You can see the top of those palm trees right there and how they're blowing. Irma's coming through here with her full force, and it's getting worse by the minute. is taking the worst of Hurricane Irma right now. Hurricane force wind gusts continuing. We've had these for several hours. In fact, over in Virginia Key, at the Rosenstiel School of the University of Miami, they clocked a gust of 100 miles an hour. The rain is unrelenting, and look at the force of the wind and these waves. These are waves you typically see on the ocean front, where we're inland. On the other side of the barrier island, Miami Beach and Port Miami, these waves have got to be running, wow, 6 to 8 feet, rolling right down the boardwalk here. And we've lost a good part of the boardwalk, and even some of the pavers here are now caving in underneath the sand. So they're getting undermined by the force of the water. The power, while it's still on down here, but for many in Miami-Dade County, more than half the power has gone out as these winds continue to rake the area. We're going to have this through about the middle of the afternoon. Later this afternoon, the winds will shift direction, but they're still going to be strong. It's definitely a day to shelter in place. And look at this. Some of the water now rolling down the walkway here as these waves crash over the seawall here in the Brickell section of downtown Miami. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. Hurricane Irma coverage continues on the Weather Channel.
Warnings that are going off. You are an incredible and amazing. Thank you, Mike, for doing everything you do. Aaron.
Michael, the last time we saw you, you were too close to those power lines, and it looks like the wind is picking up even more now.
Yeah, Wendy, it's really kicked up. We're getting the burst down here now of gusts about 80 miles per hour. That's about what we expect to possibly be sustained in the area where we are, depending on where this track goes, or if there's any wobbler shifts. But it's been intense, to say the least. We still have power in this area where we're at right now, but we don't know how long that's going to last. This has been steady like this and then getting worse, as you can tell, over the past, I guess, 30 minutes or so. We haven't seen this intense of a wind coming into our area. We're in Port Charlotte, Charlotte County, and we've been driving around talking to people this whole, I guess, week almost leading up to this storm, and people were trying to figure out what they were going to do, and for good reason. Now we're seeing the effects of this storm. A lot of people went to shelters. A lot of people figured out a plan. Some of them evacuated. We have seen people out here, though, right now, at least in the past hour and a half, so that we're riding their bikes up the street. We haven't seen anybody so far. I mean, if you're going to venture out of your home and you don't have a safe place to duck into like we do, it's a bad idea to come out in this storm. It's been unreal, just unreal. And the thing that I say it's been unreal is that this is probably more intense than I felt last year when I was in Hermine and Tallahassee, at least with these gusts. And the fact that this is going to get worse and progressively worse throughout the night, and the fact that for Tampa and for our area that this is going to happen at night is terrifying. The winds are unbelievable. I mean, they've just been howling through this area. I'm trying to find different ways to describe them because it's such an eerie feeling to hear these winds and then to just look out and see that they are just tearing through these trees. A little ways off in the distance, we don't know what it is. We've been trying to figure out what it is, but we've been hearing what sounds like explosions. We're not sure if those are explosions or if those are roofs being peeled off or what those are, but definitely we've been hearing some loud noises just off behind us. And as you can tell, yeah, these gusts, they're pretty difficult. It's definitely hard to see what you're doing when you're getting pounded in the face with rain at however many miles per hour, but we do know we have recorded gusts in our area where we've been about 80 miles per hour. So we're going to be out here monitoring the situation, and we're going to be reporting as long as it's safe for us to report. I couldn't imagine doing this at night in pitch black because we're able to see what's coming. We're able to see what's snapping. We have noticed that there is a line down, a lower line. It doesn't look like a power line down, but we have noticed a line down over there. So we're keeping a watch out on what's flying around us. Wendy?